My little soda pop, you're all I can think of.
Hello, everybody. It is Steve, and welcome to a very special video over here on my channel. It is the final send-off for a segment that's been on my channel for quite a number of years now, and it's quite amazing to know that that is the case. And that, of course, is my Funko Pop updates videos. I actually, just a few days ago, recorded my official final Funko Pop update, and it was, lots of emotions at the same time altogether, but I just had a feeling that it wasn't really going to cap off a chapter of my channel perfectly if I didn't do something with some friends of mine that I know are fans of this collectible item as well. So I've got Cammie and Gina here. Guys, I'm so glad that you are here to join me for this very special video, and I'm really hoping that you guys do enjoy yourselves this evening.
Happy to be here,
Excited to
Steve.
be here.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's the holidays. They're coming, and everybody's getting ready. I mean, my holiday just started at the night of recording, and I'm just excited to talk about Funko in general, not just the vinyl figures, but just, what's been going on, taking a look at the very first time I recorded a video about Funko Pops all the way up until this moment, and, just reflecting on all the money that I've spent on these things that a lot of people classify as worthless, and what is happening right now in regards to Funko's news, and how there are so many conflicting sides and attitudes about it now, since Funko practically, well, I don't know if it's really Funko themselves. I don't know if it was just somebody that leaked something a little too early about what was going to be happening with this company. But, it's been something that's been on my mind personally. I'm sure it's on Cammie's mind for certain. And that's really the future of this company. I mean, I've been collecting for many years. I have seen my purchasing shrink. I've seen it grow year after year. And in the last 2 years, I definitely have seen some things for the first time in a long time that they have made that have really appealed to me. So I'm just personally curious about what's going to be happening in 2026 with Funko, and what's going to be happening with me as someone who's been collecting these final figures for ever since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the
Interesting.
big takeaway is the stock. I mean, as a stockholder, I've watched the stocks kind of, and for me, that's usually a dead giveaway that there is cause for concern within the company. There's definitely been a decline in sales, especially in the United States, and I think a lot of that has to do with social media and how people highlight their collections, how they collect, what they buy, what they see and hear. I think Funko has done a really good job at bringing some lines and some characters and some Funko products that we want to see. They have definitely taken away some fun things like sodas, and but that's just the evolution of Funko. They bring stuff, they get rid of it, and they replace it with something else. Bitty Pops, I think, are fun, but I don't think they're the future of Funko. And I do have concerns. What does the cash flow system look like behind closed doors? Are they still marketable? Are they still profitable? There's questions that I have as an investor, but as a collector, I'm still having fun. I've added probably, I would say at least 30 to 50 pieces this year. My collection is well on its way to 1,500, which is for some is still small potatoes, but for some, when I say that in public, they're like, "What? That's ridiculous," So I do have a Funko problem. I am a Funko fanatic. Unfortunately, I haven't been to any major Funko events, like like in Los Angeles or anything like that. I would love to do something like that, but I think in order to go there, you either have to live there or you have to have a very large social presence. You know, that's just the world that we live in, and unfortunately, I just don't invest that much time online singing praises about Funko.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've added some to the collection this year, not too many. Probably the ones I was most excited about were my little psych guys.
I
The
love
little
that
fist
show. That
bump.
was a good.
I was so excited. I was supposed to meet almost all of the cast at GalaxyCon, and almost
Yeah.
all of them canceled. So I still at least met Timothy. That was exciting. But yeah,
Yeah.
these two are my most exciting ones that I got this year. And I also did the Funko like us for me and TJ, which I
Oh
forgot to
wow.
grab those to bring by my chair. But um I have issues with the female of that one. The hair is too heavy, so I don't stand. I hate it. Even with the stand, I don't stand. So
Yeah,
that
I
felt
think what's very interesting, Gina, is the fact that you featured the psych ones, and that happened to be like when Funko and when that video came out saying that Funko will like have no money in 2026 and they will basically be going under. That was when like all of these haters of Funko Pops like started coming out of the woodworks and started making all of these videos about why they hate this product so much. And one of the things that they said was Funko will make something that nobody even cares about. And first of all, Psych is a show that I have no idea what their fan base is like. I know the show
oh,
exists,
it's so fun.
and
It's one
the
of the best shows that had graced television. It's funny, it's witty,
Agreed.
it's one of those that it was at the height of Netflix binging for me. It's kind of one of the shows I actually binged, and it will forever be seared in my history books. If you haven't seen it, you
So
need to see
good.
it. It is
Agreed.
so good. It really
I
is a lot of
even I even did a project on it in college. That's how much I
Mhm.
loved that
fun.
show.
It's fun.
And like
And it
these two
lasted quite a few
pops,
seasons.
yep, 7 seasons, and there's two movies, and even the cast is trying to get a third movie made.
That would be cool.
that's the thing. But that's the thing I'm trying to say here. It's just like, okay, so there's a lot of people out there that don't watch that show, but you have to understand that's what makes Funko the company that they are, because they really want to try and capture as many fandoms as they can as possible. And even the fandoms that a lot of people don't really know too much about, there is a fandom out there for it. I mean, I still remember when, because one of the big things that happened for me this year was after so many years of waiting, I think it was literally 10 years, that they finally gave us the rest of the Serenity crew from Firefly. I still remember when the original five came out. I bought them all, love them all still, and they've been sitting on my shelves ever since. But I've always been saying, when are they finally going to make the last
Mhm.
four characters? And I know that we once had the conversation, Cami, about how certain Funko creations prices can be dragged down due to recreations of sculpts and stuff like that. I definitely agree and disagree all at the same time. I agree in the fact that, if they already make the character, why do they have to make another one? But at the same time, when they finally give you, let's say in my situation, the rest of the cast of Firefly, and you started collecting in like 2022, well, there's no way you're going to be able to get those original five figures unless you spend an arm and a leg and 10 pints of blood, because those are
So
really hard to
I'm
find.
gonna stop you right there, and this is the argument that I have with even fellow collectors. My thing is this: I've been collecting a gambit of things in an array of categories since I was a child. If you are an avid collector of something, you are either a childhood collector of it or you are an adult collector, at which I am a collector since childhood of a gambit of things in an array of areas. I have had where I've been fortunate to hold on to things since childhood, and then I've had to wait till I was an adult to either complete collections or to even just begin, because I have the child heart with adult money. My thing is this, and this has always been my argument, especially when it comes to Funko, and I'll keep it in this realm since this is the topic of discussion. I have no problem with Funko coming out with a re-release. But if you're going to do that, change it to free. It wasn't until 2022 that Funko was using the same sculpts but changing the box. And so the sculpt might have 2022 on the bottom, but the box has 2024. Then people started complaining about that. And so then they started changing the date on both the sculpture as well as the box. I'm fine with that. But the problem is you can't prevent people from switching. You know, I mean, there's got to be some variation. If I have been a collector of Funko since its inception, which for many that's 2011, you do not want to have purchased something because you were at the start of something which you thought was going to be big and phenomenal, and then have that item, which has held value for so long, then be recreated for some new punk to come in to your collection and say, oh, I want to be a Funko Pop collector now because it's popular and that's what everybody's doing. So I want that Funko Pop that came out in 2012 because it's cool. So Funko's going to say, oh, okay, since it's popular all of a sudden again, we're going to re-release it and piss on the people that have been there since the beginning. That was my issue with Funko. And that is my issue still to this day with people that say, oh, well, what's the big deal about Funko coming back out with, you know, something they released? I'm a collector. Part of being a collector is seeing value in your collection. Now, you want to talk to a Beanie Baby collector and they'll tell you right then and there, strike while the iron is hot. Either you sell when the selling is good or you hold up with the notion that maybe one day it won't be. And that's kind of the underlying thought process when it comes to Funko, is that we're teetering on that completion. We're teetering on we really don't know how long Funko is going to carry on. So are these products that sit on our shelves and tower behind us and that we continually buy going to be useless and meaningless and priceless a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Who knows? I don't purchase these things with the notion that someday I'm going to get rich off of them. Would it be nice to someday sell one of my collections and make some money back? Of course it would. Because at the end of the day, if I die tomorrow and I leave my collections to my family, they're going to be overwhelmed and they're not going to know what to do with it. The only person that would probably think they're cool is my nephew, and that's because we have similar interests. Point being, though, at the end of the day, as a collector, you don't want to invest your hard-earned money into something only to see Funko not take the appreciation of you being that lifelong collector, not for being there from the beginning. I mean, we've seen with the Funko documentary, we've seen people that have prototypes and, you know, variants and all of these such things, and those are very valuable. But I would still like to be at my level, at my income collector, and still have some valuable pieces. I would like Funko to stop recreating things and bring things back to life, because now you have these, you know, new collectors that want to get in on the game. Give them something else. Give them their own collectibles. Let them scour eBay or whatnot or whatever platform they want to find these old school Funko Pops and pay that value, because that is the price you pay with collecting. Sometimes if you have this itch to get something from yesteryear, you're gonna have to pay a little bit more. So yes, Steve, in that regard, I do stand firm on it. I will argue with anyone till I'm deadpan in the face. I don't appreciate Funko having brought back some of those molds without any change to the date stamp, the box, the mold, and any, I mean, even bring back the same mold. Like, let's say they have a whole bunch of these vinyls sticking around somewhere, but do a new paint job, change something on it so it's different, you know, but release the same damn thing, because that really pisses me off that I got to buy it for, you know, a decent price at, you know, $19.99 for a 6-inch pop when it came out, and now we're paying like $30 for a 6-inch pop, but the new collector gets the same damn thing that I got. That's not cool. Okay, I'll get on my soapbox.
No, you're valid. Your conversation and your peace of mind is always valid when we have these conversations, Cammie. But you know, I understand. You know, one of the few things that angers me the most when people are talking about Funko is when they are talking and they're constantly saying that Funko is the current Beanie Baby or Funko is going the way of the Beanie Baby. I'm like, here's where you're wrong on that. And I think we even talked about this in a conversation that we had the last time or 2 times ago. If these were going the same way as the Beanie Babies, Funko Pops would have been gone years ago. Years
I
ago.
disagree with you, and here's why. The only reason I say this, and again, I stand firm on this, is that I believe, and this is my own opinion, that when we discuss the comparison from a Funko Pop to Beanie Babies, it's those scalpers. It's those people
Yes.
who are buying up Funko Pops in
Mhm.
mass amounts. They are not
Yes.
even leaving any for the collectors so they can showrooms or rooms in their home stacked floor to ceiling so they can resell these things for
Mhm.
way more than retail value. And that's the same thing that happened to Beanie Baby collectors is they
Yeah.
went and they scalped these things retail value. They went and hoarded them, and that was the height and the beginning of eBay. If you recall, this was back
Yep.
in the early 2000s, and then they would go on eBay and they would flood eBay with these, and people would
You're
buy them
absolutely
up
right.
because A, they don't have to stand in line, they don't have to go down, they don't have to get trampled on to get them, but then they're going to pay a little bit more. And then people saw that and said, oh, well, if they're willing to pay $5 more, then maybe they'll be willing to pay $10 more. And then you had like $300, $400, $600 Beanie Babies going off. You see the same thing happening with Funko. At some point,
Mhm.
we're going to be oversaturated. We're going to have too much product. You're going to have a bunch of knucklehead people that have consumed these things and bought them for retail purposes, not for their private collections. They're not going to be able to get them off their hands, sell them for peanuts, and that's what's going to flood the market, and that's what's going to screw us as the normal consumer over. So yes, I
But-
do believe that there is a comparison, a viable comparison to Funko and Beanie Babies if we don't
But
watch.
isn't that then not just Beanie Babies? Isn't that just the speculators market in general? Because they did this with trading cards and they did this
Mhm.
with comic books in the 1990s. They're doing it with Pokemon cards right now.
Yeah,
You
Labubu's.
see, that's the thing. My attitude is, if you're gonna go into a collector's item with that mindset, then my advice to you is don't even bother. You see, when I was young and because look, I'm not gonna lie, the speculation bug got me in the 1990s when I was collecting comic books about how buy every new #1 issue because it's going to be worth something. And the problem is, what they weren't being told was the fact that they were mass marketing them so everybody could have one, and that's why they're not worth something. But also the reason why people got into that market was because of the fact that that was also the time when people were finding these older comic books and finding out that older comic books from like the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s were worth a lot of money. Well, that makes sense. They weren't mass printed and they weren't in every household, and the market for comic books wasn't even that big of a market back then. It was just people who just like bought them off a newsstand. When it came to Funko Pops, when I first saw these things, I think I've even said this, I didn't think they were cool at all. I thought they were so stupid. But it was
Mhm.
when they finally made a Funko Pop out of a franchise that I personally love and found a connection with. That was when I got it. It was when I saw the Marty McFly and the Doc Brown. And then that became me finding the 1966 Batman, which ended up me finding the Big Lebowski. And so that's basically why I started buying these things. It wasn't because, oh, I'm going to pick this one up because it's worth a lot of money. Now, granted, my Big Lebowski Pops are actually worth a pretty penny, but I don't give a rat's ass about the fact that they're worth something because I'm not selling them. These are mine
Right.
and mine alone, and I have them because I think that The Big Lebowski is one of the most brilliant films ever made, and I love those two characters. If I was someone who was really much of a speculator who was buying the Big Lebowski Pops for the fact that I thought that they were worth something, I would have bought all 5 of them. But I didn't, because I only wanted the ones that I liked. I wanted the characters that I wanted. So I see where you're coming from, Cammy. I'm not, just to let you know, I'm not disagreeing with you in the slightest. I get it. You're absolutely right. but that's one of the few things that I do not appreciate about collecting versus speculating. If you are a speculator, you're ruining it for everybody.
And the sad thing is, though, is that because there's so many selling platforms, you know, it's not just eBay, it's Macari, it's Upsell, it's whatnot. I mean, we have so
Almost
many selling
every
platforms.
booth at conventions.
Yes,
And they're just
then
trying to
you
get
have
rid of them
these-
now.
We
have
bought
these-
multiple mystery boxes at GalaxyCon and got 2 Pokemon Funko Pops. We got this Ponyta, and then my only giant Funko that I own, this Lapras.
A Lapras.
This was the exciting thing. We pulled this from a mystery box, and it was like, yep, that was worth it. Because like I don't buy the giant ones because I have no room for them. But like we love it.
Okay, look,
But it's
so
like, yeah, they're
so-
trying to get rid of their stash. So it's like there were so many booths at GalaxyCon that just had, you know, mystery boxes. Like, hey, here's this mystery box. You'll probably get a Funko in it. And like almost all of them are like, oh yeah, there's at least one Funko in each
But
box.
that's exactly what I mean. That we are at the beginning of the end, and that's how we started seeing it with babies. The only difference with Beanie Babies is that we didn't have that presence at cons like we do.
Mhm.
And then you have these happening at book fairs and you know, book conventions, and Funkos are everywhere. They're oversaturated. But where I'll agree with you on pretty much all collecting, and I haven't been involved in every facet of collecting. Like I didn't get involved in trading cards. I'm not a big Pokemon fan and all of that. But where I will say you can set yourself apart is a perfect example of this is Barbie and Mattel.
Mhm.
I am a Barbie collector, and I have not been an avid collector. I went through a very large drought. I did not collect from 1997 until the Barbie movie came out. So that tells you how big of a gap I had. I got bit by the Barbie bug, and I realized that maybe I shortchanged myself and I stopped playing Barbies at too early of an age because of a comment that at the time a friend had made, like, oh, you still play with Barbies? And I thought there was something wrong with me. Now looking around at all the other things that I kept, I'm like, what was so different about her? My point is that the Barbies that I collected in the 80s and 90s have been recreated for the new collector. The difference is that Mattel is very conscientious of the value that the 80s and 90s Barbies it has. Same thing with the 60s and the 70s Barbies, but I'm not a collector of the 60s and 70s because it wasn't my era. I'm the 80s and 90s prodigy. That said, I have seen Total Barbie. I have seen Golden Dreams. I have seen Peaches and Creams, all recreated. But guess what? They're not exactly the same. It's different packaging. It's a different dress. It's different shoes. It's different hair. So my point is that you can be mindful of giving a new generation old stuff, but recreated so that the old stuff doesn't lose its value. Funko has done a very poor job of doing that for us as consumers. Basically shat upon us multiple times in the course of their inception to now because they have changed hands so frequently and there has been such a different vision for the company. And don't get me wrong, I have supported every CEO, I have backed every idea. I have things that I probably wouldn't normally. I mean, I've dabbled in everything Funko has produced, from wacky wobblers to bobbleheads to sodas, you know, you name it, I have it. But Funko has not done me a solid by respecting my dollar and respecting my investment because they continually reproduce products that give no differentiation from the original product line. And that as a consumer pisses me off.
Wacky
Now I'll
Wobblers.
really get off my soapbox.
Wacky Wobblers are a product that, you know, whenever I actually get an opportunity to look at the Wacky Wobblers, because sometimes I will actually find them somewhere, I don't know if I want to get one or if I want to just leave them be, because you see with the Wacky Wobblers, I mean, that's Funko history right there. I would love to have a Wacky Wobbler, but the only thing I don't know is which one do I really want. I mean, I still remember this conversation that I had when I was at the local comic store, and the guy who runs it was telling me this story about how he was minding a shop when he was younger, and he had just gotten like a massive collection of wacky wobblers, and he put them all out. Like he was starting to like just sort them out and box them and put them on shelves and whatnot. And then a person comes into the store and he looks at all the wacky wobblers and he's like, "What are those?" And he tells them what they are. The guy made off with the entire collection and he paid $15,000 in cash. Or maybe 1,500. I don't remember if it was 1,500 or 50,000, but he paid for the whole Wacky
Ew.
Wobbler collection in cash and just took them all.
That's crazy.
But you know, for me, it's like whenever it came to me for Funko Pops, even though, I mean, Cammie, you mentioned the size of your collection. My collection's teetering right now on, well, in regards to Funko products as a whole, if I count Pocket Pops and rock candies and t-shirts even whatnot, my collection is just a little over 550, which is not bad.
That includes rock candy, Pocket Pops, you know, that's all Funko products. So yeah,
and Funko sodas as well. Yeah, Funko sodas as well.
counted.
So, and some Dorbs and whatnot. Yeah, so that's where my collection is. So when I say that to people, yeah, do people think that I'm out of my mind, that I have a mental issue and that I wasted so much money? Sure, but I'm just like, you don't know the kinds of collections there are out there. You have never heard of someone like Top Pops. You don't know the size of that collection. But for me, it's like I've always been selective. Because again, I've been collecting since 2013. And the fact that I've only gotten to 550 in a span of 12 years says that even though I have a lot, I have somewhat restrained myself. But there are also certain ones that, you know, I remember the times when the Funko shop would send out exclusives and I'd get on that computer right away because I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity because it was something that I liked. And there were some times, especially when it came to the cons, when I had to unfortunately go onto the secondary market. And then there would be those times. And then there will be those times where they would announce certain Funko Pops that are coming out and you could only get them in certain ways. And it pissed me off to no avail. And then you end up in a situation where you spend $60 to $75 just so you can get one that you really, really want.
That's cute.
I executed on that one for a while. I haven't executed on it yet just because I have the original Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, and then I recently added Pinky and the Brain, and then Slappy the Squirrel. But I love it. I just wish that would have been an option from the beginning. And I could have just had Yakko, Wacko, and Dot from the jump, you know. But now that I have the original, I have to be more selective now because of space. Not because I don't want that. That's a beautiful pop. It's just I've organized it in such a way that I have like my horror pops in one area and my Disney in another area. And so now it's like you have these things that don't really belong in any one category. You can just call them pop culture or whatever. And it's like, well, where the hell am I going to put that? You know? So I'm running out.
No, space is definitely my issue too.
Yeah.
It's hard, especially when you collect more than one thing, you know? I mean, that is probably one of the most beautiful pops I've ever seen.
It's gorgeous.
But you have to ask yourself at some point, you know, like how many things do I need of the same thing? I had this conversation with you many times when it came to Pennywise. I went Pennywise stupid, you know, when the Pennywise movie came out, and I have like 10 Pennywises, and it's like, but why? You know, yeah, it's cool to see him in all of these poses from the movie, but like, does one really need him in every pose that he made? No.
That's how I feel about all the Deadpool ones too. Like, do we really need 700 different Deadpools? Like, we have a couple of them.
Have one.
Jack Skellington.
I have like 2 or 3. Sally, And all the Harry Potter ones too. Like, I have so many different variants of the different Harry Potter ones, which you're talking about earlier. Which ones?
Okay, so like
TJ's holding up his Deadpool that he has over. But like all the Harry Potter ones.
even though Harry Potter has so many, though, I still like how they introduce those lines. You have it based on the books and or the movies,
That's
however you want to
right.
look at it, you know?
Oh dear God. No, it's just like when they announced this one, I got really, really excited. And the only reason that I got really upset was that this was originally supposed to be sold on the Funko shop, and then they said it was only exclusive to Hollywood. So that's what really upset me. And this is the funny part. I buy this. I had also took a look at a whole bunch of other people who were selling this exact one. In about 48 to 72 hours, my mailbox is flooded with all of those sellers trying to sell it to me at a cheaper price. So again, the chickens are coming home to roost, y'all. It's just like that people are desperate to get rid of these things now. But look, do I regret the fact that I bought this? No, absolutely not. I took it out of the box. It's simply gorgeous. I mean, I will definitely say I'm lucky that this is a practically perfect paint job. And yes, Cammie, you're also right. If you take a look on the back of the box, they recreated the Warner Brothers and Warner sister in 3 new poses. Did I get excited about buying them? No, I have the originals. I don't need them.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I thought the original ones were just simply fine. I mean, I didn't even get the Pinky and the Brain 2-pack because I had the original Pinky and the Brain in separate boxes.
But that is a perfect example of a line that they did correctly. They did not recreate the original. They gave us new poses. And that I can appreciate, you know, because as a collector of the original, now I have the choice. Do I want the new poses? Am I perfectly satisfied with what I've already purchased? Or do I just stand back and let the new collectors who missed out on the first go around get these, you know? So that is doing it right. But giving me the same exact sculpt from something that was put out 10 years ago is stupid. It just pisses me off. So yeah, that was correct. That's how you do it, Funko.
Yeah, I was just finally happy to have it. It's just like, and by the way, just in case everybody didn't know, that was the surprise reveal. That was the last Funko Pop that I was ever going to feature on this channel. So I wanted to make sure that it was special. But no, I've still got some coming in the mail. I'm really excited for the scene from 101 Dalmatians with the 3 puppies looking at the television. That's going to be really, really cute. I can't wait to get that one. But no, Cammie, you
I
said
just bought one too that I'm waiting for.
Which
I'm
one?
excited for it. You know, I can't really say it's a surprise and he's sitting in the room.
Oh, then never mind that. No, I mean,
I will text it to you. Hold on.
When I
I'll
was
text it to you
doing
and
the,
then you
I
can
mean,
say it.
the other thing that I'm collecting right now are the Funko Shop exclusive Watchmen pops. They're obviously based on the movie, not the comic book. But I think that what's really nice about those is I think that they're very nice.
You can say it. I
I
have
saw
headphones
that
on, so
one.
he won't hear you.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Tell the rest of us, what is it?
Oh, we can't. We can't do
You
it.
can say it. Yeah, I have headphones on. He can't hear
it.
you. He can hear me.
Oh, okay. The new John Cena that's coming out.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean the WWE pops are a sensation. Like they've always
That'll be my first.
sold. No, but that's the thing. I don't have a single one of them, but I am blown away by the fact that they've made new sculpts of wrestlers that they've already made, but they've pretty much gotten a lot of the big name wrestlers out there. I mean, I loved when they made the ones from the 1980s. I mean, when they made, I loved looking at them. Like when they made Rowdy Roddy Piper and when they made the Ultimate Warrior and when they made Andre the Giant, I'm like, oh, there are so many people that would love these things. But see, what I was getting, I'm talking about the Watchmen pops. I didn't originally want to get them. But then at the same time, it was around the time that New York Comic Con was coming out. And it had been a long time since I actually went crazy for anything at the cons. And when I saw what was coming out at the cons, I got a little excited. But then I decided, something? I kind of am going back to those Watchmen pops. And I'm just like, I love the graphic novel. I think the movie is one of the greatest comic book movies, if not the greatest comic book movie of all time. I'd like to get my hands on these. And I remembered that 2 characters from that movie were made in the very early days of Funko. They made a Dr. Manhattan and a Rorschach and even a con-exclusive blood-stained Rorschach. So those are definitely hard to find. But I always connect myself with that specific comic, and I just wanted to grab them. And it had actually been months since the first three in that line came out, and the one, if I was going to get any of them, was going to be Rorschach because he's iconic. And then when he came out finally, I was just looking at the others. They were still in the shop. Nobody was buying them. And I was like, you know what? If they're still there, I'm just going to go for them. So they've made 5 of them. I'm still waiting for the 6th and final one. At least I hope there's going to be a 6th and final one. Otherwise, the collection will be incomplete. And if Funko unfortunately goes the way of the dodo, then there's a chance that that collection will never be complete, because there is also another collection that I have that I don't think ever will be complete, and that's my Back to the Future collection. I am trying to get my hands on one more piece, and it's going to be virtually impossible because it's an NFT physical, and it is now being sold for like no less than $200 on eBay. And I will never spend that kind of money on a figure like that, because my goal.
Oh, sadly, I have.
Yeah, oh, I know you have. And one of the, and it's just my Back to the Future collection is, I want to have Marty and Doc from every time period.
Oh,
some of them are actually store exclusives. The 1955 Doc Brown that I have was a Loot Crate exclusive.
Oh, cool.
So I'm missing 1885 Doc Brown, and the only way that he's available right now is a physical NFT. There are still 3 physical NFT pops that I want to have. Believe it or not, in my collection, I've got 4 of those now. I've managed to find them on eBay for pretty decent prices. But no, I want the Foghorn Leghorn from Looney Tunes, because he's actually one of my favorite characters. Q from Star Trek The Next Generation, and the 1885 Doc Brown. I don't think I'm ever going to get my hands on those. And that's sad. I mean, they're not doing the NFTs anymore at this point either. I mean, a lot of people didn't like those either. But you're right. There were high points for Funko, and there were low points for Funko, Cammy. You're right. And it has a lot to do with these two guys. And I think that Funko, without them, is lost. That's my overall attitude. I mean, I know that
they're lost without Mike Becker.
For sure. No. You're right. Mike is the heart and soul of this company, and I think that Mike leaving Funko not once but twice is not just because of his own personal health and well-being, but I also just feel that deep down inside, one of the things that he never really said was he just didn't like where the company was going. I mean, the fact that Brian managed to get him back, to help him host the fun days and the conventions again, to help him make
I think that was just to save face, though. I don't think it was any other reason. I mean, Brian did have a vision for collecting and for what it is to be a collector, because he himself is a collector and he has a very impressive collection.
You see him in that documentary,
Brian Mariotti.
You see him in that documentary, and you can't believe the person that he was when he left the company. You really feel for Mike, at least I do. Mike sold him the company because he believed that there was something special about Brian. Like you said, Cammy, he was a collector. He was passionate. He and Mike built a wonderful friendship, and he trusted Brian because he believed that the people who made Funko who they were going to continue to do what they were doing and bring that company to new heights. But after the pandemic, when Funko made probably some of their absolute worst decisions, and what really upsets me about that is that's after the documentary. That's after building the Funko HQ in Everett, Washington, doing all of these truly great things, and Funko still being what they were and still pretty much being popular at the time, not just a little bit, but relatively popular, and having more lines than just pops. After COVID, it's just the man changed. He overproduced. He filled landfills with product that we didn't want. And because of all of the decisions that were made, that was why it got worse when we found out that their social media team was let go. The original creators were let go. The people who were heads of the creative teams, like Reese O'Brien and Jim Butcher, the fact that they left or got fired too, it's just like that was when you knew that things were going downhill. I don't have anything against Perlmutter. I think that he definitely tried his absolute best because he was there for a very long time as well. But you're right, Cami. They were constantly switching hands. A lot of people believe that when the person who drove Wizards of the Coast into the ground, the minute that she started working and becoming the CEO of Funko, everybody believed that Funko was pretty much putting their final nail in the coffin or writing their own death warrant, if you will. But I don't know. I don't appreciate what Mike Becker did at the very end, but I will not deny that he was the one that really turned me into the appreciator of the Funko Pop, or even just more Funko products, if you will.
So there's a couple things I want to touch on. One, Brian Mariotti is a quintessential person that you do not hire to take over the company because he is at heart a collector. That's like someone who collects comic books buying a comic book store. It's a bad idea. Okay.
Mhm.
And the minute he handed over the reins to Brian Mariotti, I said, "Ooh, that's a bad idea." Except Brian Mariotti had a good couple of years. Here's where it derailed. 2020, the whole world derailed. And I cannot blame Brian Mariotti for trying to do what the rest of the world was doing. And that is shifting from brick and mortar to complete online sales. The issue is that in the beginning of COVID, when we were all kind of reeling from having to be trapped in our homes and not being able to go out and socialize and shop the way that we were accustomed to, is that we had to learn to shop online. So therefore, retailers had to learn how to stock the shelves and not run out of things. Amazon royally screwed up, and Funko got wrapped up in that process. It's either feast or famine. It either worked during COVID or it didn't, but you had to pace yourself. And so many companies got oversaturated. Funko was one of those because they were doing really well in sales through 2020, but by over creating a product and not keeping up with the sales, you need to go back to that simple idea of manufacture upon purchase. So when somebody buys something, then go ahead and create it. The problem with consumerism is that we want it now. And thank you, Amazon. You completely destroyed it for the rest of the world because Amazon can get it to you. You can hit buy it now and it's like your doorbell rings, So Amazon completely ruined it for most companies because everybody said, oh, well, I can't wait a week to have it. I ordered this Monday and I need it by Wednesday. Okay, well, we're not all Amazon. Okay. Products, and then they're raising prices. So I don't fully wholeheartedly blame Brian Mariotti for ruining Funko. Mike Becker was completely exhausted and he had reached his glass ceiling. He had done everything in his power to make the company work and he was just tired. At which point he should have just ceased the company and said, we're going to ride out into the sunset. Maybe even ghost run it, not be the face of Funko anymore, just run closed doors, go buy a small little brick and mortar and have humble endings like you had humble beginnings. But instead he battle handed it off to Brian Mariotti, who had great ideas, but he over embellished the company, he oversold the company, he over marketed the company, and then by the time he got overstretched, he was like, whoa, hold on, I need to pull in the reins, and his idea for doing that was pulling back in the person who wanted to escape. And that was a recipe for disaster because Mike Beckhart didn't, that's kind of like bringing Frankenstein back, you know, it's not the same person, you know, you don't resurrect the dead basically. So I feel Funko probably should have set sail in sunset form back at the beginning of the 20s. 2020 would have been a prime time, 2019, 2018, somewhere around there would have been a great time to say, we're done. But there was lines to be made, there was promises, there were, they had talked about, and now here we are. I'm not mad about some of the products because I've gotten some really great Funko Pops in the last 5 years, but I don't see Funko lasting much longer. There's not much more idea. I mean, yeah, we can keep creating Funko for every new show that comes out, but how does the sales look on that? You know, if there's a new show, do the Funkos sell as well? There's a short fan base for everything. I think Funko's success lied in the true product that lasted the tail of time. You know, you mentioned, damn, now the name's escaping me. What did you just mention? Your movie.
What movie?
The movie you were just talking about that you need the Funko Pop about.
Oh,
It's
you mean
escaping
Back to
me.
the Future?
Back to the Future. Thank you. That is a quintessential 80s movie. People love it still to this day. They share it with their kids. Home Alone, you know, things that, those are good Funko lines because they, regardless of how old they are, they have a fan base that just keeps reinventing itself. It keeps getting reintroduced to a new generation. But I think Funko continually making new product based on new shows is not the best
Not gonna
way
work.
to revive and keep
Yeah.
Funko alive. It's
Right.
not.
Yeah, but at the
It's like
same
the lines
time,
that
yeah.
I've been excited for have been the lines that are like of the older stuff. Like they just announced Gilmore Girls pops. Like I would
Oh
love
yeah,
to
that
get
was
Sookie. Like haven't gotten it yet, but I like those are the ones that like, oh, I might, I'd be interested in that. So like I get what you're saying. Like the ones for like the new shows, I don't really, unless it's like something, you know, fantasy-ish, like give us some Percy Jackson ones or
oh that
you
would
know,
be
I
cool.
have a
But
few older
again,
Stranger Thing
that's
ones.
older too because when I think of
Right, the
Percy
books.
Jackson, I think of the books. Yeah, I
Yep.
don't think of
But
the
that's the other
oh, the
thing.
new show is going to be awesome. But that's what I mean. Kids today do not collect like our generations collected
Right.
because we were oversaturated with cartoons and shows, but that were so good, they've continued to last the tail of time. So when we make toys, when we market to kids of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We don't market to kids of the 2000s and 10s and 20s because their toys sucked and so did their shows. So here we are talking about a product that recreates images from things that we love. Sorry, Funko, but we don't need BTS pops because that's going to be a fly-by-night thing. Nobody's going to love BTS 10 years from now, you know? Sorry, it's just the fad. I mean, how many people still love pop music? When we think pop, what do we think of? NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. You don't really talk about Five, do you? No, you don't.
I don't know. I don't know about BTS, Cammy. I mean, they're pretty popular, and considering how popular
It is
K-pop
of
Demon
the
Hunters
moment.
is.
I think it depends
It
on
is
if BTS actually like comes back after they're all done doing their military service.
they're
Like
gonna
if they
age
do come
out. All
back,
pop stars
right.
age out. I'm sorry. I've been a prodigy of the pop culture product. I was a diehard NSYNC fan. Ask me how valuable my box of NSYNC collectibles is.
Cammy,
It's not.
if
I
that
still
was
have
the-
my no string
if
attached dolls.
Yeah,
if that was the case, then Mick Jagger would still not be performing on stage.
NSYNC's not performing because JT is an asshole. That's
Okay, well,
plain and
I
simple.
want to make
Okay,
this about Justin
but
Timberlake.
Backstreet Boys are. But what I'm saying, Steven, is that pop culture is fickle. There's very few bands that are gonna last the tell of time. Again, why are we talking about New Kids on the Block? Why are we talking about Backstreet Boys? Why are we still talking about NSYNC? Because they are the prodigy of the generation of people that held on to things, 80s and 90s. BTS, I can guarantee you're not going to be here 5 or 10 years from now. Nobody's going to give two figs about that band. They're just not.
I
That's
don't
just
know.
my 2 cents on it. We are not in a generation of consumables. We are in a generation of throwaways. People only consume stuff that's here and now, right in your face. I want it yesterday, and then they forget about it 5 or 10 minutes from now. It is not our generation. Our generation holds on to things like it's going out of style, like we're going to die if we don't have it. That is not kids today are in their phones, on their devices. They don't give two shits about things on the shelf. I have tried multiple times with my nieces and nephews to get them involved in something to collect. They don't care. They just don't care. It's not a consumable, and it's good for them because they're not going to be us 20, 30, 40 years from now with all this shit that they don't know what to do with, you know?
Hey,
It's
do you know
it is
something?
very overwhelming to be a collector. It really is. It's a beautiful but overwhelming thing.
Well, you know what? Have you actually seen toy commercials that are
I
being
have,
made
and I don't
now?
think toys today are anything like they were for our
No,
generation. I'm sorry, even
you're not
Barbies.
letting
I
me
just went
finish.
to Barbies a few minutes ago. Playline Barbies are bullshit. Playline Barbies have the worst freaking clothes ever. They are
She's not letting me finish.
disposable. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going off of what. Okay, if you want to talk about toy lines, give me a good toy line today.
I'm not trying to get at you. I'm trying to tell you something. Have you seen toy commercials today?
Because we
Because
didn't watch TV the way that we watched TV in the 80s and 90s. You have streaming services. You don't have television where you're forced to watch like 6 commercials before your 20-minute show comes back on.
okay, but what I'm trying to tell you is I have cable. I don't have streaming services. So I see what my daughter's watching and I see the toy commercials. There's a certain phrase that is no longer in toy commercials. Do you want to guess what that phrase is?
I don't know.
Collect them all.
Oh.
They don't want you to collect anymore. Because of the
Yeah.
fact that we products of the 70s, 80s, and 90s were under a time when there was no regulation in advertising to children, which is why we are the ones that are buying toys. We are the ones that are buying comic books. We are the ones that are buying collectibles. We are the ones that are buying physical media because we are from the generation that was heavily zombified, marketed to, saying, you need this, you have to have it. And that is something that has changed tremendously. Again, there's so many other things that have caused this. You've mentioned them all. Smartphones, streaming service. I mean, listen, I am hoping and praying that the social media ban in Australia holds because I want that to come here because I think that social media is a cancer. I think that it is one of the worst things that we ever put on this planet. I think that at this point in time, you know, we may be using the internet to the internet right now is like the extension of our own bodies. And I am really curious to know how we got here in a conversation about Funko. But the point that I'm trying to make here is the fact that the internet is one of the biggest mistakes that we ever gave the world. It is one of the worst things that we ever had outside of having the ability to check an email from work while you're away from your desk. I think that's probably one of the only important things to do, as well as paying your bills online, because it saves you so much time. But
I can appreciate what I have seen.
But the fact that we are now living in a world where the internet has caused us to be antisocial, extremely unhealthy, and the fact that nobody cares is what upsets me. I once said to my wife, I still cannot understand to this very day why cigarettes are not illegal. I cannot figure that out right now. And she says because it's big.
Only 20% of the world is smoking now. I mean, we've done such a phenomenal job in our country about taking away the ideology that cigarettes are not harmful for us and putting that at the forefront that less and less people are smoking. Yes, vapes became all the rage 10 years ago, But even now we're seeing that that wasn't as safe as they marketed it to be. And so now you just have a very marginal amount of people. I think they're more cancer and lung cancers we put out there, and let people know you're no longer just smoking tobacco, you're smoking carcinogens. That's cancer in a tube. So you want to kill yourself? That's a fast way to do it. That's why
Yeah,
we don't see
the
that.
internet's a terrible thing. It really is. Even though I have so many practical uses for it, it's the internet that has also practically killed merchandising and business in a certain shape and
It's
form.
still killing it. I don't
Yeah.
see how people think that we're going to survive this. With the inception of Amazon, that was pretty much the decline of the brick and mortar. I mean, with everything that we have at our fingertips on Amazon, it is not coming from our mom and pop businesses here in the United States. It is coming from China. It is the other day, for example, I ordered something which I thought was through Walmart.com. It came from Temu. What does that tell you, folks? What does that tell you? We are
Oh,
completely
geez.
now integrated with the way that these do business. They don't care about us as consumers. They just want to make the most money in the fastest way
Yep.
possible. I hope the internet implodes on itself. But
Yeah.
that said, what I am loving seeing right now on social media is a great surge of people, and a lot of them are from our generation. They're scaling back and they're saying, you know what, less is more. I miss the yesteryear of the comfort of the color and the extra, the cookies, the small little TVs, and when we put in, VHS and watch Charlie Brown Christmas, all of these feels that because you can't stream Charlie Brown Christmas now. You have to buy
Right.
it somewhere. You can't stream Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You have to buy it. So people are very cognizant of all of the comforts have been taken away from us and are now being branded a label, a price. There's a price on everything, and people are fighting back and they're saying, you know what, I'm done. They're going back to physical media,
Oh yeah.
buying those, VHS little TVs for their kitchens again. They're going back to the basics, and the more and more people that do this, they're going to start teaching it to the next generation, and maybe that'll change things. A lot of what's happened in our world has been society resets. Maybe this is a reset that has been overdue for a very long time. Is that going to change me as a consumer? Probably not, because I'm a prodigy of the 80s and a child of. I still love my collections, but I have been scaling back and making more conscientious decisions about what I add to my collection. Is it adding value
Same.
because I'm just completing a collection, or is it adding value to my life? Because clutter does not add value to anybody's
No.
life. It's overwhelming, it's anxiety inducing, and it's costly because you're constantly having to buy another shelf or buy a bigger house for some people. And I think that it also got very out of during that portion of time where we were at home because we were inundated. And this can also even go before COVID. I mean, we can look at when we started really getting involved with YouTube and seeing people make videos about their collections and their unboxings. The FOMO was just insane, and people would buy things beyond their means just to keep up with the Joneses. And the people that were buying these things weren't even videotaping it. They weren't creating YouTube channels. There were a few that, while I was watching YouTube, and I decided to go ahead and create a YouTube channel too, because they thought there was some kind of monetary value in it, not realizing you have to post, like 4 or 5 times a week. You have to.
You want to be a
There's
content creator that makes
how
money, you got to put the
post.
time in.
Yep.
You got to treat. You got to treat.
And then
That's
a lot
the thing.
of these channels that have 1 million viewers or 1 million subscribers have a team behind the camera. It's not just them, So there's a lot of things that YouTubers aren't about, though, and that's the shitty part.
The other
is that
thing
it got
is,
a lot of people.
And the most important thing that we need to also remember here, Cami, is the fact that being a content creator is not the best thing in the world anymore, because who knows what's going to happen to this platform? There are so many things being told by, whether you follow a channel like Clownfish TV. They're talking about the fact that YouTube is just going to become something else. It's going to become a streaming service. It's going to become television, and that they're already starting to get rid of, or at least try and find ways to get rid of all of these creator channels because they don't want them on their platform anymore. So for all I know, we're recording this video for absolutely no fucking reason whatsoever because it'll be gone in about a month. But no, YouTube is turning into something that I don't like either.
Well, it's a long time coming though, and it's not a bad thing either, because if you think about it, all of these influencers and content creators gotten severely out of hand, and they've endorsed things that they themselves aren't using. They've lied to their watchers, they've lied to their viewership, they've created these falsities, and there are so many content creators, and not just on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of these places that are not being honest because they don't have to be. It is 30 seconds of their life, it is 3 minutes of their life, it is 5 minutes of their life, and they're only sharing with the people what they want them to believe of who they are. That's why I left the platform a long time ago, because it's honestly just a bunch of toxic bullshit, you know? It's, if you don't want to play the game, if you don't want to keep up with the Joneses, we don't want to see who you really are, we don't want to see what you really want to showcase, we want you to do it this way, at this time, this many times a week, and we want this kind of lighting and this kind of background, and it's like, for fuck's sake, I'm original. I'm not. Yes, it's absurd.
You're not reading this book.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, it took me forever. It took me forever to finally put some actual nice bright lights in my basement. So now my location that I'm actually recording in actually looks somewhat professional. Well, that's 10 years too late, Steve. You're done.
Right.
By the way, are we still talking about Funko Pops here?
We are.
Where are we going with that?
But people need to understand that a conversation about Funko will derail into consumerism and money spent, and you know what clutter looks like, and what a collection, how it should be displayed. You know, I think at the base of it, I think we can all agree we love the product. We say this every time because we're still consuming it, we're still buying it, there's still product being made that we obviously love. You know, I probably have a good 15 Funko Pops on pre-order right now, but my collection is slowing. And I think it will eventually get to a point where some of the things that I have consumed in the past, I probably will not get back the price that I paid for them. And that's okay. That's part of what you expect as a collector, that you don't always get what you put in. Sometimes you do. Sometimes I'll sell something and I'll think, oh, I'm not going to get anything for this. And then it ends up going off for a different price, you know. But another thing is that people also assume that platforms like eBay and whatnot are easy. They're time consuming, and it's a constant checking, and then going to the post office, and postal rates are astronomical now, you know. So all of this ties into everything. I think if at the end of the day, content creators, videographers, whatever the hell you want to call yourself, were more honest, if companies were more honest, we might have a different world that we live in. But the basis of this is that the fan base of Funko is changing, and it has been changing vividly for the last 5 years. I think those of us who have been back and forth for the last 5 years have finally come to the conclusion that we're just tired. And I don't think it's tired of buying, because Funko is, as we said, still putting out products that we like. It's just that we're tired of spending money, and we're tired of collecting things we no longer have space for. And so it comes to this just normal point in life where you realize, I'm older, I need to start saving money for other things, I need to start investing in other ways. And yeah, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop buying fun things or having toys. Obviously, I've spent a lot of money on a lot of things that I love. I'm not going to sell all this tomorrow, because it inevitably has brought me a lot of joy, you know, and it still brings me joy. I walk into a room and sometimes I'll just stand there for like 5 minutes, and my husband will come in, are you okay? I'm just like, yeah, I'm just looking at my stuff, you know. And because it makes me happy,
that's the difference between a collector and a hoarder. A collector is someone who actually goes and spends time with their collection and just feels at peace. And I also wanted to say, I mean, the point that I was trying to make earlier is absolutely not relevant considering where we went with this conversation, but it's just like I also believe that one of the biggest problems right now is the fact that the entertainment industry is just so dull and mundane, and a lot of the things that are coming out are not great. I mean, like, there's been, you know,
Mhm.
like I haven't really been going to many movies lately, but that's also just because of the fact that I'm a father now. But the truth of the matter is, I take a look at what's coming out in theaters, and there's like next to nothing that I'm interested in anymore. And you're talking about someone who used to go see 30 to 50 movies a year. Don't want to do it
But
anymore.
again,
But wait, wait, what? What?
you talk about this derailment and the all of this, but the point of the matter is Hollywood has changed, and that is
Mhm.
a prodigy of streaming services. We have to once again, as consumers, be honest. It's not that you and I are no longer moviegoers. It's not that you and I no longer love to see movies. It's just that movies are presented to us through now Netflix platforms and through Amazon Prime. We are not gifted with the choice anymore of being able to go to our local theater to go watch a movie, because people are realizing that it is more profitable and more affordable to create a movie for Netflix than it is for big Hollywood. And Hollywood is moving out of Hollywood. They're going to Nevada, they're going to Colorado, they're going to Montana, of all places, because it is no longer feasible for people to afford to be able to live in California. Isn't California anymore. So it's not that we don't love movies anymore, Steve. It's just that we are not being presented with movies like we were when we were in our teens and our 20s and our early 30s.
But the other
It's
thing
all
is, but that's the other thing about the Funko Pops. It's like when they're going to constantly make Funko Pops about a new movie or a new television show, something that definitely doesn't grab me, of course I'm not going to expect myself to go out for that. But then they'll do something like, oh, I don't know, finally make a Charlie Chaplin Funko Pop, or make a Gene Kelly as Don Lockwood from Singing in the Rain. And I'm like, oh my goodness, why didn't you make these years ago? It's just like, I still remember when they made the I Love Lucy pops and how many people went batshit
Yep.
crazy for those. Like, I'm waiting for them to finally drop the Honeymooners line. I'm not going to buy them myself, but I know so many people that would run for those. I mean, when they made Rod Sterling from the Twilight Zone, people went bonkers for the fact that they made him. So it's like you say, Cammy, it's the older people, the older fans that are going to gravitate to the ones that they make that they've been waiting for all these years. You know, it's just like I said, when they completed the Firefly line, I got so fucking excited because I was waiting for those. When they finally gave me a couple more Batman animated series pops, I got very excited for those. The fact that they finally made a George Reeves 1950s Superman, I was so happy. I've been waiting for that one ever since I purchased that Adam West Batman set, because it just made sense to finally complete that collection. But let me conclude my final thoughts on this matter. My attitude is, if Funko goes away, just give me that last Watchmen pop before you go away, because I must have it. That's all that I'm gonna say.
Funko, when it decides to close its doors, will have an unfinished line, sadly. I mean, there's never going to be a finality to everything that we want. We can just hope that
Yep.
with what has been created, that we've been able to capture and captivate audiences enough to consume the things that they really want. And I do think that's why FOMO is so prominent, is that people do have a fear of not being able to have that 5 years from now, or find it, 5 years from now, that kind of a thing. But we also have to be mindful of the money that we spend. Do we have the budget? Are we just buying it for the sake of buying it? And as I discussed earlier in this video, I have spent money on pops, and at the time I'm just like, oh, it hurts my soul. But looking back now, I've only done that twice. I've spent big money on 2 pops that I absolutely wanted, and I have no regrets, because they're pops that I will keep forever. I love them very much. They're 2 of my favorite pops that I have in my collection. Over time, have I bought pops that I don't love as much? But is there any collector that doesn't buy something that at some point they're like, I've outgrown this, I don't love it as much anymore? That can be said for anything. I think that when Funko finally, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. When Funko,
I think when Funko finally decides to say "C'est la vie," I just hope that they've been very mindful to those of us that have been there since the beginning, and that they have given us everything that they've promised us, and they are conscientious moving forward, because of the loss in profit, because of the loss in stock. that moving forward, any creations are mindful. Just like we're expected to be mindful as collectors and adding to our collection, be mindful of the product that you make. Are you making it just for the sake of making it, or are you making it because somebody asked for it?
Well, I want to conclude with a certain. I actually did talk about this in not my last Funko Pop video, but my one that I did for November. It was when I was talking about the Kermit the Frog Funko Pop that I bought from the Muppet movie, the movie moment with him sitting on the log. I remembered when the original Muppets Pops came out and they freaked me the fuck out. They were just so creepy. But then when they officially gave us, Statler and Waldorf, that was like an absolute must for me. But then I remembered when they were showing the Kermit with the Rainbow Connection moment, and I was just, there's something about this pop that I just want. And what did Funko really do for me at the end of the day? Besides giving me a whole bunch of things that when I look at them, I see myself, because that's what I do when I look at my Funko collection. I just see everything that I have loved from childhood till adulthood. But the most important thing that Funko did, especially in its heyday, was it connected people. People who were looking for like minds like them, people who were quiet, introverted, and they actually had something that they could find a common ground with people that they never thought that they would meet in a million years. Mike Becker said it best when he first made Funko. I know that there are 1,000 knuckleheads out there like me who like this stuff, and it turned out that there were more than 1,000. Funko brought me to you two.
Yep.
You guys.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yep,
Think about
same.
it, Steve. We wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for Funko.
Funko was, I found Funko through YouTube, and YouTube was how I found like-minded people that were few and far between when I was growing up. And the fact that getting back into comic books back in 2019, besides the fact that it saved me from going mad during the pandemic, the fact that I can walk into a comic book store today and spark up a conversation with absolute strangers with no fear, get to know what they are reading, what are they liking. It's like when I'm online buying a stack of books and I see someone with their stack and they're holding a book that I know a lot of people are not reading but should, and I see it, I have to go to that person randomly. That person might think I'm crazy right at the beginning, but I just say, dude, it is so nice to know that I'm not the only one reading that book. And then we get into a conversation and we ask, like, how many titles are you reading? What artists do you like? What authors do you like? So it's these types of little knickknacks and books and whatnot that people look at them and don't get, but it's like the people that invest their money and invest their time that we get it, because it's more than just a book. It's more than just a figure. It's more than just a CD. It's community.
Right. That happens a lot with at work too, because like we all have our lanyards, and so like we all have different pins and stuff. And I have a little tiny Labubu on my lanyard, and almost at least 3 times a day, some kid will go, oh, Labubu, and I'll be like, do you want to touch it? It's fuzzy because it's a little flocked one, and they're like, yes. And then kids smile, just like, she's cool. She has a Labubu. And then like my pins, depending on what pin, everyone's like, ooh, I like that pin, or I like that pin. It's interesting to see different people and what they pick up on my lanyard, and then like you said, we'll strike up a conversation with it. So it's fun finding the people that like similar things.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's so many things that most people who collected Funkos did that I never did in my life. Like, I've never been to the official Funko booth at a con, and I'm pretty sure that those days are long gone. But just the fact that I got to go to Terrific Con this past August, I think this is probably one of the greatest stories that I would love to share with so many people. The moment that I met Kevin Eastman, the man who co-creator of Ninja Turtles, I could have brought anything typical anything that he has seen hundreds of times brought to his table. A comic book, a Funko Pop, a Funko soda, a graphic novel bind-up, any of those, a video game. He could have seen this from me, and he's probably seen that dozens, hundreds, thousands of times. At the last minute, at the corner of my eye on my bookshelf, I saw my Time for a Pizza Break Ninja Turtles bookmark that is by no means in good condition, but it's the very first bookmark that I ever bought at a fourth grade book fair. And I even used it time to time to this very day reading books, thanks to BookTube. And I just said, it's this. Out of all the things, I said to him, it was my turn, and I said to Kevin Eastman, this was a game time decision. I could have given you a comic book or anything, but I wanted to bring this. And I said, this is my very first bookmark. I got it when I was 9 years old at a book fair. And I turned it upside down. I said, and there is space. Could you sign this?
I love it.
You could tell that it warmed his heart.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he didn't just sign it, the fact that he actually said, can I look at it? And he took a look at all the details on the drawing, and we talked a little bit. And the best part was there were certain prices for signatures. And if you wanted the signature and the little turtle face, it was going to cost you a little bit more money. I wanted the basic signature. He drew the face for me. He drew the face for me because he understood what that item meant to me. And he just loved the fact that he still revels in those days of the 80s when the Turtles were that popular and how they were everywhere in so many shapes and forms. And so and that's the thing, you know, there's something about meeting creators of comic books that's so much different than meeting any other kind of celebrity, whether it's an athlete or whether it's a movie star, because I've met my share of those too. I have met Jeff Bridges. I have met Florence Henderson. That every opportunity is amazing, but these comic book creators, you can sit with them and they will chat with you. They will want to get to know you a little bit. They want to know a little bit about you, and you want to know a little bit about them.
It's not just comic book creators, because I've met celebrities on different calibers, musicians, actors that will sit down and have a conversation with you, and they really want to get to know you and why you're a fan and what your favorite episode is or what your favorite song is or what your favorite album is. So it depends on the situation and the timing and the scenario, you know, what kind of time they can give you. And I think it also depends on the level of career that they're at, because I find that oftentimes when someone is in the beginning stages of their career, they're very humble. When they kind of get into the middle of it and they're a lot more popular, they're making more money, they have less time. And it's not necessarily because they're too good for you. I mean, there are celebrities that are like that, but it's because they don't have the time to give you because they're being pulled in several different directions.
It's
And
like
when
that
they're
happened
kind
at
of tailored at the year, or they don't have a project going on, then it's like, oh, I've got time for my fans again, you know?
Yep. It happened at GalaxyCon, like all the actual like professional photo shoots we did. A lot of them, they're like, you know, go, 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 just because that's just how it is. But even so, most of the people that we met still took a good few seconds to actually make sure to have that conversation with us. And like Timothy Odmanson, like they were rushing him exactly, but I still took a second to be like, loved you in Luck of the Irish was the first thing I liked you in. And his face lit up so much, and he just went, hooty, 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 hoo. I started crying. Like that just even though it was just 2 seconds, it was great. And then like everyone we met at their table, they all took 5 minutes with each person. Like we met Steve from Blue's Clues. Like that
Oh,
was
that's amazing.
fantastic. He's so nice. And like his podcast that he has, the second episode he did was on palliative care nurses. And I told him I haven't listened to that episode yet because I lost my mom this year. And like he immediately was just like, don't. He goes, wait until you're in a good headspace and then listen to that episode because it will hit you. And it was they were also awesome.
I remember when I went to BookCon. I actually went to two of the book cons that were held at the Javits Center in New York, and
I went to the one that was in Chicago.
And one of the people who was actually there when I was there the first time was Jeffrey Tambor. Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of Arrested Development, but there's a lot of other things that he's been in that I absolutely love. And I brought, it was also, you buy the book, you get the book signed, but I also decided to bring something else. And I took my cover sleeve from my DVD. I don't even know if you guys even know this movie. Have you guys ever heard of or have seen a movie called Paul?
Yes.
So, okay, so Gina will understand this more than Cammy. Cammy, I'll educate you at another point in time. You should see this movie; you would love it. So I brought the DVD cover, the artwork, and I just said to him, "I don't know if you want to do this, but could you please sign this as Adam's shadow child?" And his
Nice.
publicist was like, "He can't sign anything else besides this book." And then he goes, "No, no, 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 no. This is a fan. I'm going to sign it."
I love it.
So I thought that was really, really funny. And the funniest thing was he even signed it upside down, which I thought was absolutely
I love it.
hilarious. So I have a meaningless autograph from Jeffrey Tambor. Adam Shadowchild signed my DVD of Paul, which I think is absolutely hilarious.
That's
But
fun.
I think it's moments like that that mean the most to the fans, and it also means the most to the actor, the musician, or whomever it is that you're talking to, because they realize you're not just there for their autograph to resell it. You're there because you genuinely love their work. There's something that they did in their lifetime that was meaningful to you and that made an impression, and you have a memory, a fond memory.
Yeah.
And for anybody who does that professionally in the entertainment industry, that's what they do it for.
Yeah.
Before all of the crazy happens, too much fame, substance abuse, any of that, but at the core, at the crux of it, they're doing it because they genuinely love the art form. And I think, when an actor or anyone in that industry does something for a fan and they stop and like, no, I'm going to do this because it's meaningful too, that means even more, so that was cool.
So I think that that's officially going to wrap it up. As a matter of fact, this video is actually going to be titled "This is the End" because this is my very last Funko discussion over here on this channel. I mean, again, I had said to so many people, Cammy, I know that you're one of them, but I didn't see myself doing stuff like this past the age of 50. Even though I am nowhere near there, I kind of feel like I'm getting closer and closer by the day. I'm just going to end it here and say thank you everybody out there who has watched me talk about these little figures since 2014. It has been a lot of fun sharing my passions, sharing my stories, and that's one of the things that I love so much about every single Funko Pop that I own. Every single one of them tells a story, from me just being lucky to find one on a shelf one day to the day where all of a sudden a package comes into my door from someone that I don't really know too well from YouTube, and it turns out to be a Funko Pop that I want so badly from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Cammy, and I appreciate that gift every single day. But thank you guys once again. This was wonderful. This was a conversation that went in so many weird and interesting directions. I'm glad it did.
Always does with us.
Yeah, but that's because we've got things on our mind and things that we like to talk about. So regardless of this video, I'm sure that the three of us will always have other conversations outside of this platform. And thank you all for watching. Have a safe and wonderful holiday season and hope for the nothing but the best in 2026.
Before you sign off though, Steve, I just want to say, aside from our friendship that we've created, you've always been one of my favorite content creators because you're genuine and you've always shared things that not only are whimsical and fun and imaginative, but you've done it with heart, you've done it with passion, and you've made it fun, and you've obviously opened up a lifeline of connection for me. I've met great people like Miss Gina here, and if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have continued collecting to the degree in which I have, because you've validated for me as a collector that there are people out there like me that exist and that are perfectly happy and content in their own worlds collecting all of the things that bring them joy. and shown me that there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's one thing to hear it from my family, but it's a completely different thing to connect with real human beings that give you that same validation. So from the bottom of my heart, Steve, thank you so much for everything that you've done, for everything that you've showcased, and for being my friend.
Well,
Agreed.
of course, yeah. And I mean, of course, Cami, when it
Agreed.
comes to you and Funko Pops and the fact that you and I have connected so many times, you also have to remember
So
that
many
because of the things that I do, I remind myself that I get to live another day, because if you miss out on a Funko Pop that I don't share with you, I'm going to be killed. So I have to be very careful every day. But I sleep with one eye open, Cami. The day I see a Funko Pop and saying, should I be telling Cami that this thing exists? Am I going to be alive tomorrow? I don't know.
I'm like, you share this with me, you know why.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's what
Steve, and
that's
thanks
what we
for
say
watching.
all the time. You always say, "Why did you share this with me, Steve?" I said, "Because I don't want you yelling at me."
Exactly.
All right,
I like
take
it.
care, everybody.
Bye.
If you enjoyed the video you just watched, feel free to leave a comment. Also, feel free to subscribe if you want to be up to date with our latest videos. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one. Actions speak louder than words.